Hansemi is an amazing healer who can provide great buffs and healing to your entire team, and especially when she's in a mono wind team. But when you equip her with certain artifact sets, she becomes way better, as especially when you equip her with the Angel in White artifact set, which feels practically made for her, as the 2 set effect bonus on this artifact set will increase the user's HP by 8%, and pretty much like every healer in the game, Hansemi is also a HP scaler, which makes this 2 set effect very valuable. But the 4 set effect is basically where she'll benefit from this artifact set the most, as you can increase the user's healing given by 8%, as well as also increase the damage of the team member with the highest total power by 8%, which means you're going to make sure that your main DPS on your team is going to have the highest total power. But then of course, the Burning Blessing set will also be one of the best ones for literally any supportive character in the game, as the 8 set effect can apply Burning Blessing, which is activated when you tag out, use a support skill, or even an ultimate skill. As what this will do, it'll increase the user's damage dealt by 20%, which should be going onto your main DPS, and it will restore 0.2% of their HP every second, and this will last for 20 seconds. But then of course, even the Guardian artifact set is also very useful for Hansemi, as on her second basic skill, she does apply a shield to your party, which means the 2 set effect of increasing the user's shield strength or shield effects by 30% is really good. And also with the 4 set effect, whenever a team member, including yourself, the user of this artifact set, activates a shield, you can increase their individual damage dealt by 10% as well, which will be very useful. And then you also have things like Noble Sacrifice as well, which is just a slightly worse version of Angel in White, as you can also, on the 2 set effect, increase your HP by 8%, as well as increase your whole party's attack stat by 8% through the 4 set effect bonus. And then for all of Hansemi's accessories, the brand new artifact set in Sylph's Blessing will definitely be an amazing one for her, as whenever you use your QTE skill, support skill, or your ultimate skill, you can increase the user and their whole team's elemental weakness damage by 5%, which can be stacked up to 3 times, and can actually last for 60 seconds, especially if you do have it on the 4 set effect. And then the same also applies to Outstanding Connection, as you can increase the incoming character's attack by 28%. And then also for Hansemi, when equipping her with your main artifacts as well as also your accessories, it's important that you have the correct main and also substats. As for Hansemi's helmet, 100% you'll either want to go for additional HP or HP percent, as she is a HP scaler. And then as always with the body armor as well as also the gloves, you will always get additional defense on the body armor, as well as also additional attack on the gloves. And then finally for the boots, you can go for one of 2 things, which is either going to be healing given increase, or you could go for HP percent, with either one being perfectly fine. And then for the substats of all of these pieces, for your main artifacts, you can pretty much just go with anything that's going to increase your damage, healing output, and also shield strength, which means additional HP, HP percent, and healing given increase are the 3 most important stats for her. And then for the main stats on all of your accessories, of course, the necklace will always give you additional HP, which is always amazing, because again, because she is a HP scaler, it gives you more healing and also shield strength. And then of course for the bracelet, on the main stat of that, you'll want wind damage percent, as she is of the wind attribute. And then just like with the helmet, the ring, you'll want to either go for additional HP or HP percent. And then of course the earrings, as always, will give you additional mana points. But then finally for all of the substats for these pieces, again, as always, HP percent, additional HP, and healing given increase are the 3 most important ones you want, and that's all you really need to worry about. But then moving on, we have all of Hansemi's best weapons, and her brand new exclusive weapon, which is called Coming of Age, is a really good one, as you can increase your own HP stat by 4%, which is obviously amazing. But the best thing about this weapon is that you can apply an increased damage taken debuff by 5% for 4 seconds to any targets that are hit by any of Hansemi's skills, which is really good. And then when this weapon's at max dupes, you can increase the HP buff to 10%, as well as also increase the duration of the damage taken debuff from 4 seconds all the way to 10 seconds. And then for any other alternative weapons that you may want to use, the durable Shark Water Gun could be pretty useful, as it is an SSR weapon that does have a HP main stat, so it'll be able to give you a good amount of stats. And unfortunately, the increase in your QTE skill damage by 2.5% and also your basic skill damage by 2.5% isn't really that useful, but it can still be a little bit beneficial at least. But if you're going to run a more free-to-play option, I would probably recommend the Ancient Grimoire, as it'll increase your power gauge acquisition rate by 12%, which will go all the way up to 32%, which means you can get your ultimate much faster. So then before we get onto her best team and also synergies, it's best that we discuss all of her best skills for you to level up. And for me, the 2 best skills you'll want to level up will be her 2 basic skills, with the first one being Sharp Sprouts. As what this will do, it'll do 500% of her max HP as damage, which can go up all the way to 750%. But the main buff you get with this skill is actually the HP recovery buff increase, as normally at level 1, you can continuously restore 1% of Hansemi's max HP to the entire team every second for 3 seconds. However, once you get this skill completely to level 10, you can increase the restoration effect from 1.5% to 2.25%, which is a really good increase. And you could even argue her second basic skill, Divine Field, could even can be better, especially when ran with Amamiya Mirai, as what you need to know about this skill is that basically when the user uses this skill, they restore 250 of their win team members' mana points, which once again will just show you that she definitely is going to want to be put in a mono wind team. But then she also puts down this protection zone, which when stood inside of it, you can receive the zone effect buff, which will recover 15 mana points once every 3 seconds to any person that is stood inside it, and they'll also be able to gain a shield equal to 4% of Hansemi's max HP once every 3 seconds as well. And the reason why this skill is so important for you to level up is because when you get it to level 1, you only recover 15 mana points every 3 seconds to whoever stood inside of it. However, once this is at level 10, you can then increase that from 15 mana points every 3 seconds all the way to 22 mana points. And then honestly, at that point, you don't need to level up any more of Hansemi's skills, as unless if I've missed something, then if I have, then let me know down in the comments below. But pretty much all of her other skills, when you level them up, like her ultimate skill, Vines of Vitality, when you level it up, it only increases its damage, and that's literally it, which is pretty much useless, especially because Hansemi doesn't deal too much damage, as that's not really her job. So then finally, to end off this video, we have all of Hansemi's best synergies, and also just team in general. And overall, without a doubt, 100% the 2 best characters that will synergize perfectly with Hansemi will be Wu Jinchul, as well as also Amamiya Mirai. And let's start off with why Wu Jinchul is so good, and the main reason for this is because of his own exclusive weapon, which is another level, as basically with this weapon, whenever the enemy enters the break state, all team members' win damage increases by 4%, excluding the user of this skill, which is a permanent increase, which means not only he can buff wind damage, but also Hansemi can, thanks to her passive, as basically when she uses Sharp Sprouts, Golden Meadow, or Vines of Vitality, she can grant the breath buff, which basically will increase the user's basic skill damage by 10%, as well as also additionally increasing your wind team members' basic skill damage by another 5% as well, and this can stack up to 2 times, which will be very, very nice. And then when it does come to Amamiya Mirai, pretty much the main thing about her is her possessed buff that she does apply when she uses her ultimate, which allows her to reset her basic skill cooldowns and spam them a lot more to deal a huge amount of damage, which makes her have a great amount of synergy with Hansemi. But then of course Mirai and Wu Jinchul aren't the only wind characters in this game, as you do also even have characters like Huang Dongsu, who are also pretty good, as Huang Dongsu does offer a ton of defense buffs to himself, so he can do a lot of damage, which means a lot of Hansemi's buffs will be very, very useful. But then of course the final supportive character for Hansemi, I would definitely recommend Park Heejin, as she is definitely by far one of the best SR hunters in the game, as if you want to have a decent amount of uptime on your Hansemi's ultimate, then Park Heejin's third dupe, which can fill your whole team's power gauge by 10% when she uses some of her skills, will be very, very useful. But then of course when it comes to shadows, you're not necessarily going to be using your shadows to be built around Hansemi's kits, which means there's not really any point in using a Shadow Authority leader like Iron, who does give a max HP increase, as it would just be much better to go with someone like Igris, as basically your whole point in using Shadow Authorities is to buff your main DPS's damage, and that's pretty much it, which will 100% make Igris the best Shadow Authority leader for you because of his crit rate increase. And to support Igris and just your whole team in general, Serbi the Cerberus is definitely probably maybe now the best supportive shadow in the game, as well as also Iron, who does a great job at very similar things. But the Cerberus shadow is definitely amazing because it can apply the combustion debuff, which will increase the amount of damage that your enemies take by 5%, as well as also having a permanent damage over time debuff as well, which is obviously amazing. But then when it comes to Iron, Iron is really valuable because he applies a defense decrease, which barely any hunters in the game can do, which makes this Charge Iron skill very valuable. But then it's also because of his basic skill Iron Angry, which can apply a shield equal to 10% of the user's max HP and is granted to all of your shadows, which can help keep your shadows alive for a much longer amount of time, so you can get more damage and more value out of them. Which overall now, with the release of Hansemi, the mono win team of Hansemi, Wu Jinchul, and also Amamiya Mirai is now complete and is definitely going to be one of the best teams in the game. So there you have it. Hansemi does seem like a really, really good healer that is going to be perfect for the mono win team. But what would also be perfect is you liking and subscribing and clicking the link down below to support me as a creator, as it will help me out so much. But most importantly, I will see you all in the next video. Peace!